What is up, guys? Delboy here. Hope you guys are doing well. A quick preview for the Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz Jr. undercard. It now looks like the card has been complete, and I will run through it with you guys and share my thoughts. Now, is this a pay-per-view worthy card? In my opinion, no. Obviously, in the USA, this card is on DAZN, but in the UK, it is pay-per-view, and I've got to say, I won't be purchasing this event, to be honest with you. I have already done a preview and prediction for the main event. I believe that was actually my last video, so you can find that easily on my channel if you want my thoughts on the main event. But let's get down to talking about the undercard. The first fight I will get out of the way is Katie Taylor versus Delphine Persoon. This is an undisputed title fight in the lightweight division. I'm sure some people out there will be excited for this fight, but me personally, I don't really enjoy female boxing, so I don't really care for it. But you know, for those who do, it's an undisputed title fight, and we get very few of those in male boxing, so fair play I guess, but it's just not for me if I'm being honest. Now let's move to the next fight on the card, and that fight is between Callum Smith and Hassan Ndam. Callum Smith will be defending his WBA super middleweight title that he won against George Groves back in September. You know, I guess Callum Smith has been out of the ring for quite some time, and it is his first defence of his new title, so I never really expected a great opponent. But Hassan Ndam, in my opinion, really is a poor choice. Don't get it twisted, Hassan Ndam has been a good middleweight. He's been ranked highly for years. He's fought some good guys, and all in all, he's very experienced. But the fact of the matter is, the man is a middleweight, and he's coming towards the end of his career. I don't really see how Hassan Ndam gives Callum Smith any problems. Maybe for a couple of rounds, the movement of Ndam could offset Callum Smith, but once Callum Smith starts to find the target, you know, I expect these punches to tell, and I believe Callum Smith will stop Hassan Ndam when he gets close and starts to land on a regular basis. Maybe a mid-round stoppage from Callum Smith. Again, I'm not saying Hassan Ndam is a bad fighter. He's been a good middleweight for quite a few years now, but he's a middleweight, and also he's coming towards the end of his career. And at middleweight, if you look at Hassan Ndam's resume, all of his big step-up fights he lost. So he lost to David Lemieux, he lost to Peter Quillin, etc. So I really don't see Hassan Ndam having any chance of beating Callum Smith. I think it's a gimme, and it's a poor late notice fight, unfortunately. We now move on to another fight on this card between Joshua Buatsi and Marco Antonio Periban. Again, this is another late notice fight, and I don't really see this as a step up for Joshua Buatsi. Marco Antonio Periban at his best was a fringe contender at super middleweight. That was a few years ago, but he's not been relevant for quite some time now, and he's coming off a loss to Avni Yildirim. In fact, Marco Antonio Periban is also coming off 2 years of inactivity. So basically we have a super middleweight fighting at light heavyweight, coming off a loss, coming off a 2-year layoff with just over a week's notice. This isn't going to be a competitive fight. Periban, yes, he's got a bit of name value amongst hardcore boxing fans, but I don't really see him being in the position to make this a competitive fight, and I fully expect this guy to get blasted out in a couple of rounds. So given the circumstances, I don't really see this as a step up for Joshua Buatsi, just a stay busy fight. Hopefully after this fight we get a big step up. But we now move on to another fight on the undercard, and this fight is actually a good competitive fight between Algieri and Coyle. Chris Algieri was a world champion a few years ago. He beat Ruslan Provodnikov to win that title in a great performance, by the way. But ever since that fight, his form has dipped. He has picked up a lot of losses, albeit at a very high level, to the likes of Manny Pacquiao, Amir Khan and Errol Spence. After those losses, he took some time out of the ring, but recently he's come back and, he's had a couple of comeback fights. Now, apparently, he's not looked too good in these fights. I've not seen them, so I can't comment, but according to reports, Chris Algieri hasn't been looking great in his comeback. And if that's the case, I think this fight with Tommy Coyle should be very competitive. Tommy Coyle, to me, is not close to world level. I don't think he's even European level. I think he's a good domestic level fighter. He comes to bring it, he comes to fight. And, even that type of fighter at this stage, in my opinion, could give Chris Algieri problems. So I expect it to be a competitive fight. I expect Tommy Coyle to apply pressure and Chris Algieri to box. It could be an intriguing fight, but I've got to say, I do make Chris Algieri favourite. Historically, he's picked up better results, and, even at 70%, maybe he has enough to beat Tommy Coyle. Chris Algieri, also to note, he's a solid body puncher, and I believe Tommy Coyle is a bit weak to the body. We've seen him dropped by numerous body shots. Don't be surprised to see a Chris Algieri body shot knockout in this fight. But yeah, I've got to say, I do like Chris Algieri versus Tommy Coyle. So fair play to Eddie Hearn for making that fight. Another fight on the undercard, and the last fight I'm going to cover, is the bout between Josh Kelly and Ray Robinson. Now, I think this is a good step up for Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly, former Olympian, he's 9-0 as a pro, and I believe Ray Robinson is his toughest fight to date. Ray Robinson is a tall, lanky southpaw who's very experienced. He's been around for some time, and he's been in there with good names. For example, he took Sean Porter the distance, he took Brad Solomon the distance, he's beaten guys like Ray Nar and Arslanbek Kozayev. He's also coming off a draw against the Lithuanian top-rank welterweight prospect Egis Kavalauskas. That was a good result on paper. And, Ray Robinson is just a tricky, awkward southpaw, and he's a nightmare to look good against. And I'm surprised they've matched Josh Kelly with somebody like this. I think Ray Robinson could give Josh Kelly problems, because I kind of see Josh Kelly as a rhythm fighter. He likes to fight in his own rhythm, his own off-key rhythm. And, Ray Robinson's a guy who lowers the punch output. He's very awkward. He's very crafty, lanky, coming out of that southpaw stance. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes Josh Kelly look bad. I don't believe Ray Robinson has the punch output to win this fight, but I certainly believe he has the ability to make Josh Kelly look rather ordinary, and maybe he might expose a few flaws in Kelly's game. But like I said, I do expect Josh Kelly to win this fight. I just think it's a good step up and an interesting style for Josh Kelly to contend with. In fact, I've actually seen a few people online say that Ray Robinson could pull off the upset. And while I disagree, I don't think he will win. Would I be shocked? Not really. Ray Robinson has enough ability and a style that intrigues me. So I'm looking forward to this fight. I'm looking forward to seeing how Josh Kelly looks. But yes, there we go. That's my quick preview for this card. Is it the best card in the world? In my opinion, no. Is this card pay-per-view worthy in the UK? Again, in my opinion, no. The main event isn't that intriguing, and the undercard, for the most part, is pretty poor. I don't think this is pay-per-view worthy, and to me, there's no excuse for it. I get that Joshua has to fight Ruiz, fair enough, that's excusable, but there's no excuse for this terrible undercard. We've known about this June date since February, I believe, so in my opinion, there's no excuse for this undercard. It really does say a lot when the best fight arguably on this card is Tommy Coyle versus Chris Algieri. And this card's pay-per-view, I think us UK fans deserve a lot better. But maybe I'm alone in that thought. Maybe some of you guys like it. In fact, I've seen a few people online say they like this card. More power to them if that's how they feel, but I've got to be honest, I don't feel the same way. Share your thoughts below. Peace.